Hello everyone, welcome back to another video here on the channel, Charles Morris. So, Paul Murdaugh, that I mentioned in my other video, he has been found not guilty for the crimes he's committed. He been driving about drunk, and he is also responsible for the death of Mallory Beach, and he pretty much been found not guilty. I just wanted to make another video, just be clear on what was being said in the last video. Now, eventually, when he was in trial and he was about to be handcuffed, there have been lawyers that actually ended up stopped the arrest, and Jake Paul was completely not Jake Paul. I meant Paul Murdaugh. He was allowed to walk out of that courtroom as a free man and go to college. And yeah, I gotta say, everybody was deeply sickened by the verdict that Paul Murdaugh had received, not guilty. And Paul Murdaugh received a lot of negative results from being found not guilty, and people have been, well, if you want to watch the Low County that is on HBO Max, it's called Low County, the Murdaugh's Dynasty, and you can read those sickening comments that you could actually say to people on that video, because I'm not gonna repeat what had been said to Paul Murdaugh, but it shows that people have been raging mad over the fact that Paul Murdaugh had been found not guilty for the death of Mallory Beach and driving a boat drunk. Now, I want to go back when Paul Murdaugh wasn't completely drunk as he had been. So, Paul Murdaugh goes into a store or a gas station, and he buys himself a pack of beer. He uses his older brother's ID to get the beer, and then he raises the beer up in celebration. And that's where Paul Murdaugh right after he gets his boat in the water, that's where he starts drinking, partying, having a good time. And then somewhere on that boat trip, he's wanting to stop at a dock and walk into a bar. And his friends are looking at him and they're thinking, this is, wait, this is not a good idea. I mean, he's already had drinks on a boat already and that stuff. And apparently, drinking responsibly doesn't really apply to him. He's, you know what a Murdaugh does. Hey, my last name is Murdaugh. You can do whatever, I can do whatever I want. That's what a Murdaugh thinking would be. And, Maggie Murdaugh, has been, pretty much taught her kids that, you know, you can do whatever you want. And so, yeah, there's been a lot of problems that the Murdaugh's been caused, that trouble they caused. And just if you were trying to convict Murdaugh of any kind of crime and that stuff, they pretty much could just, you know, get away with it. And the Murdaughs had a law firm in South Carolina. And they had money, they had power, and they could pretty much do whatever they want. They could even try to get away from being held accountable by the law. And back to Paul Murdaugh going to a bar. His friends think it's not a good idea, such a good idea to going into a bar and having more to drink and getting yourself more drunk and that stuff. And yeah, the girlfriend of Anthony, named Mallory Beach. Anthony thought it was not such a good idea to be having his friend Paul Murdaugh drinking some more beer and getting himself more drunk. If they were driving a boat, and you know what happens when you consume too much of beer and alcohol and that stuff, you end up getting so drunk that you just don't even know what to do anymore or how to act. Well, yeah, this gets pretty crazy at the end. They leave right after Paul Murdaugh had finished his drink and that stuff, and what ends up happening is he starts getting pretty bossy and rude, and you know, he's also mean to his own girlfriend and that stuff, and he gets him. He acts pretty crazy. He's acting absolutely nuts. And he also ends up taking his shirt off, and, you know, I think even his pants, and, you know, doing weird stuff that drunk people would do out in public and that stuff. And he's doing donuts in his boat and that stuff. And he's having himself a good time being drunk, driving his own boat. And he's having a good time. And one of his friends want to drive the boat so that people would feel more safe while there is a drunken Paul Murdaugh on the boat, and then Paul Murdaugh taps the guy that wants to drive the boat. He says, no, this is my boat, you let me drive. And he starts picking a fight with this guy, and, you know, he'd think that, hey, I'm a Murdaugh, I can do whatever I want, that stuff. And he starts going pretty crazy and that stuff. And the boat trip comes to an end when he crashes into a bridge. And the guy is drunk. The guy's totally drunk. He has no idea what he's doing. And Mallory Beach, for 1 second, Anthony had hold of Mallory Beach. The next second, she's completely gone from his arms because of that stupid boat crash that wouldn't have happened in the first place if Paul Murdaugh didn't decide to get himself so drunk. And, yeah. So, after they end up crashing the boat, after Paul Murdaugh crashed his own boat, the next thing that happens is they're held up by cops and that stuff. They're trying to investigate why it's happened. And there's a search team that is searching for Mallory Beach because they don't know where to find her. They don't know if she's in the water or, you know, if she's still alive or whatever. Now, like, days and days after searching for Mallory Beach, which is Anthony's girlfriend, you can check that out on Low County, the Murdaugh Dynasty, so you can get a clear idea of what I'm talking about. And Anthony is kind of mad at Paul Murdaugh because he believes that Paul Murdaugh was responsible for losing that caused him to help lose his girlfriend, Mallory Beach. And Paul Murdaugh is mad at, or Anthony is mad at Paul Murdaugh for the boat accident that caused Mallory Beach to be separated from him. Anthony, I mean. Yeah. Mallory Beach is the girlfriend of Anthony. Anthony is mad at Paul Murdaugh because Anthony cannot find Mallory Beach anywhere, and he is pretty mad at Paul Murdaugh for this. And just as you'd expect from drunk people, he thinks it's just a big joke. He's laughing at at what he's caused for his friend Anthony, and he thinks it's so funny that Anthony's girlfriend is gone, and a few days after the investigation's gone on for days and that stuff, Paul Murdaugh had been charged with the death of Mallory Beach and driving a boat drunk, which he has ended up being found not guilty. And what happened was when he was about to be handcuffed by cops, there were lawyers that had stopped the handcuffs from being put on Paul Murdaugh, and he was basically let off scot-free, and he could go back to college and enjoy the rest of his time. And the sentence he was going to be serving, if he was found guilty, was maximum of 55 years in prison for driving a boat drunk and the death of Mallory Beach. He's pretty much got off scot-free. And then you hear about this after a while or so, and that stuff. And this is Paul Murdaugh murders both his son and his wife. His son was shot with a shotgun, and Maggie Murdaugh had been shot with the AR-15. I was surprised too that this name came up for the gun. The same kind of weapon that Salvador Ramos had used in the Robb Elementary shooting. I was surprised that the AR-15 name came up. And in my opinion, I think that this was, probably like one of the consequences that Paul Murdaugh was going to get from, causing the death of Mallory Beach, or getting himself drunk or whatever, and instead of facing 55 years in prison, I think Paul Murdaugh never knew that his own father would try to kill him. And I think because Paul Murdaugh, he was classified as a narcissist by Dr. Phil. Now this is crazy. I think the reason why he would have killed his own son and his wife is because so that he could actually, either it was for money or, just to keep people quiet about, the boat crash. That's probably what one of them is, because when Paul Murdaugh has been in the hospital, his father, Alec Murdaugh, had been going room to room and been telling people to not mention anything about the boat crash. And I think that was probably why Alec Murdaugh, murdered his wife and his son. So, possibly to hide the evidence of the boat crash, or it could have been some other particular reason. Only Alec Murdaugh knows the real reason why he shot his son and his wife. But it's a big story. And this story, this whole Murdaugh dynasty, what had happened with Paul Murdaugh and Alec Murdaugh and Maggie Murdaugh, all of this is, have been captured probably a lot of attention, just like this Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie case. And Paul Murdaugh did a lot of bad stuff. He drove a boat drunk, caused the death of one of his friend's girlfriends, and he caused the injury for people who were riding the boat too. And it was completely bad. And it was pretty clear that Paul Murdaugh should have been found guilty, but he was let off the hook. He was found not guilty, and when his arrest came, there had been lawyers that had stopped that arrest, and Paul Murdaugh faced a lot of criticism, and it did not end well for him. So he had no idea that his father was going to shoot him. He didn't know that Alec Murdaugh was going to come with a shotgun, and either with a shotgun or a pistol. He had no idea that Alec Murdaugh, Paul Murdaugh's own father, killed his son and also his wife, Maggie Murdaugh, the wife of Alec Murdaugh. Paul Murdaugh had no idea that Alec Murdaugh would come and murder him with a shotgun or a pistol. And this, I think, would have been something that Paul Murdaugh did to cover up evidence of the boat crash. I can't confirm that, but this is just my opinion of what has happened. And this opinion of mine, I think, would pretty much be a little bit accurate. Now, Alec Murdaugh is in prison for life. He is serving 2 life sentences for the murder of his son and his wife. And Alec Murdaugh is going to be spending the rest of his life in prison for 2 life terms for the death of Maggie and Paul Murdaugh. And that's where Alec Murdaugh is going to stay for his whole life. And that's where I want to make the end of this video. Yeah, everybody knows that the Murdaugh dynasty was pretty bad people. Even Alec Murdaugh stole money from his own law firm. And he had also been taken to court for stealing money from his own law firm. And Paul Murdaugh, or Alec Murdaugh, was a pretty bad, was doing some pretty bad stuff back then. And, even after the death of Paul, his son, and Maggie Murdaugh, he been taking painkillers called opioids, and that's what kind of helped him get around feeling pretty guilty that Paul and Maggie Murdaugh were dead. And even he was guilty of shooting and killing them. He used opioids, and he was hoping that the problem would just go away. And Alec Murdaugh did some pretty bad stuff. And that's why he's in prison serving his 2 life terms. Now, Alec Murdaugh could be due back in court if they wanted to open up a further investigation on what kind of crimes Alec Murdaugh did more of. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not a police officer, but, if he ever were to be, hauled back into court for, further investigations on his crimes and stuff, then it's possible that could happen. Like, how Ethan Crumbley, when he was shooting all those kids in Oxford High School, he was, not only was he, charged and held in Oakland County Jail for his murders in Oxford High, he was also taken back to court so that they can make further decisions on what to do with Ethan Crumbley. Same thing for Alec Murdaugh. It could happen. They could be due back in court so that law enforcement can get, orders from a judge on what to do for further sentence time for the victims. Or have them due back in court for, a possible further on whether to do something different with their prisoner, or doing something further with the prisoner. Like, it could be either reduce the sentencing, or, something completely, something more. And the judge is the one that gives the instructions on what to do with the cops. When there is some type of crime that happens and that stuff, the charges can come from the cops, but it's the judge that makes the decision on what the cops should do with their criminals that they have caught. whether they should have their prisoners go off scot-free, or if they should, keep them in jail or prison a lot longer. Now, the judge can make further decisions on what the cops need to do with Alec Murdaugh. And if he was, were to be found guilty again, which Alec Murdaugh's been getting law with that, his financial, he'd been getting, off the hook for his financial problems with his law firm, and, there could be further court cases on what the cops should do with Alec Murdaugh. They keep Alec Murdaugh in prison for life, so they could get a decision from a judge on what to further do with Alec Murdaugh. But yeah, this video has been made on the explaining more about the Paul Murdaugh situation with the boat crash and his drunk boating, and I just wanted to make that a little bit more clear. But I'll discuss Alec Murdaugh in another video. But this one, I basically want to be talking about Paul Murdaugh. And hopefully this video has kind of helped explain a bit more, and hopefully everybody got a clear picture of what I was trying to say. And for more information, I would encourage you to go watch Low County, the Murdaugh Dynasty, so you can actually figure out what exactly happened with Paul Murdaugh and Maggie Murdaugh. There are 3 episodes on HBO Max. You can go check them out. This is right before Alec Murdaugh had been found guilty for shooting his son and his wife, Paul and Maggie. Paul being his son and Maggie Murdaugh being his wife. You can go check that out, and you would get a better understanding of what Paul Murdaugh had done, what Alec Murdaugh has done, and all about the Murdaugh Dynasty. This is Charles Morris. Have a good day. I will see you all in my next video. And, it's never a good idea to be driving any kind of vehicle drunk. Have a good day. I will see you all later.